Hi everybody, this is TJ Mack Vintage Cards, and today I'm profiling the 1960 Topps football set. This is a 132 card set. Let's take a closer look here. In 1960, that was the year that the Philadelphia Eagles won the NFL championship, beating the Green Bay Packers 17-13. It was the only championship game Vince Lombardi ever lost as head coach. And it was also the year that Norm Van Brocklin, who was the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, won the MVP. And it was also his last year. He retired at the end of that season. So he went out on top, similar to how John Elway did. Unfortunately, Van Brocklin doesn't have a card in this set. He stopped making Topps cards in 1957. I'm not really sure why, but he was a multiple-time All-Pro quarterback and Hall of Famer. And I'll be profiling him in other sets as I go throughout the different decades. So just taking a look here, first card we're going to start off with is Johnny Unitas. He was the first card in the set. Kind of got a psychotic look there, which is kind of interesting. Colts were a disappointment in 1960. They finished 6-6 after winning the previous two NFL championships in 58 and 59. Unitas led the league in passing with 3,099 yards that year, and also with touchdowns with 25. But again, the Colts struggled. Next to him is Lenny Moore, great halfback, two-way threat, receiving and running with the Colts. And you got Raymond Berry, who was just the main target for Johnny Unitas during that time. This was probably Berry's finest year in 1960. He finished a first-team All-Pro for the third year in a row. He had his only 1,000-yard season in 1960, finishing with a league-high 1,298 yards. When Berry retired in 1967, he was the all-time receiving leader in yards with 9,275, and also receptions with 631. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1973. Next up is Jim Parker, a great tackle with the Colts. He was an offensive lineman. Next to him is Jim Brown. Led the league in rushing that year with 1,257 yards. In his 9-year career, he led the league in rushing 8 times. Brown was a 1-time NFL champion. He was a 3-time MVP and an 8-time All-Pro before retiring at just 29 years old. And he had a career in Hollywood after that. He's certainly in the discussion for the greatest player of all time. His 126 touchdowns still ranked 10th all-time, and he's 11th all-time in rushing yards with 12,312. Here's a second-year card of Bobby Mitchell. He was the halfback in the Cleveland Browns backfield. Jim Brown was the fullback. Going over is Bart Starr, 2-time Super Bowl champion, multiple-time NFL champion quarterback with the Green Bay Packers. And here's Jim Taylor, who's not the Jim Taylor from the Packers, but the Jim Taylor who's a linebacker with the Cardinals. Same mistake was made on his rookie card. So really the first picture we get to see of Jim Taylor, the actual running back for the Green Bay Packers, was not until 1961. Here's Paul Hornung, who just passed away. Next up is Forest Gregg. He was known as the Iron Man. This is his rookie card for then playing a record 188 consecutive games. Mostly played right tackle, did play some guard. He was one of the anchors that powered that Green Bay Packers running game. In his 16 seasons, he was a 7-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. Vince Lombardi called him the finest player that he ever coached. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1977. In 2000, the Sporting News ranked him the 28th greatest player of all time. Later became an NFL coach with the Browns, the Bengals, and the Packers between 1975 and 1987. He also led the Bengals to the Super Bowl against the 49ers, Super Bowl 16, which they lost. Here's Ollie Matson. And here's Charlie Connerly. As I mentioned before, he's not a Hall of Famer, but he was a quarterback for those great Giants teams of the 1950s. And he was also the Marlboro Man in the Marlboro commercials. Here's Frank Gifford. And next to him is Sam Huff, one of the first great middle linebackers in football. And then this guy is just one of my favorite players of that era by far. This is Chuck Bednarik. He was with the world champion Philadelphia Eagles that year. He was the last of the full-time two-way players. He rarely left the game, playing center on offense and linebacker on defense. He was a two-time NFL champion, 10-time first-team All-Pro. In 1960, Bednarik hit Frank Gifford, who's pictured right here, so hard that he knocked him out for 18 months. Google that hit if you ever want to see a real hard hit. There's a video of it on YouTube. The players around him thought he was dead. Bednarik hit him so hard. Fortunately, Gifford recovered. The two were friendly in later years. And of course, Gifford went on to play a little longer and also did Monday Night Football and other announcing with CBS. Bednarik, if you ever look him up and look at his fingers are completely out of place. In old videos you can see of him just able to move his fingers all around. His fingers were all dislocated over the years. His nickname was Concrete Charlie, not because he was a hard hitter, but like many players at that time, he had to work in the off season. He was a concrete salesman, so they called him Concrete Charlie. He only missed 3 games in 14 seasons. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame first time around in 1967. Here's Bobby Lane. This is his first card with the Steelers, but he's not wearing a Steelers uniform. Still wearing his Lions uniform. Here's Y.A. Tittle with the San Francisco 49ers. And Hugh McElhenney, the King, halfback with the San Francisco 49ers. So I think this is a pretty nice set. It's a pretty basic design. There's a lot of headshots, as you can see, but I think it presents real well. I'm a fan of all sets. I find the good in almost every vintage set. I just think they're beautiful cards. And these are some really nice portraits of the players of that time. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish everybody a very happy new year. And I will talk to you all again soon. Have a good night.